Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I welcome you all to this auspicious International Lifestyle Medicine Conference 2021. I am Dr. Eman Chaudhary, postgraduate trainee of Pharmacology Department, Islamic International Medical College. The theme of this session, which I am going to moderate, is lifestyle medicine and its preventive role. This session will be held from 11:30 to 11:45, inshallah. Professor Dr. Tahira Sadiq is the co-chairperson of this session. She is Assistant Director of Rifa Institute of Lifestyle Medicine. She is Public Health Specialist and certified in Lifestyle Medicine. Ma'am, kindly come on stage. Thank you, ma'am. The chairperson of this session is Professor Dr. Ayaz Bhatti. He is Head of Department of Community Medicine in Islamic International Medical College. He is certified in Lifestyle Medicine. Thank you, sir. There are 5 presenters in this session. Each presenter will have 5 to 6 minutes. First bell will be rung at 4.5 minutes and second bell will be rung at 5.5 minutes. Let's start with our presentations. Our first presenter is Dr. Sara Razak, student of Rifa International University, Lahore. The topic of her presentation is doctor-patient relationship, illness, perception, and medication adherence in cancer patient. She will be joining us virtually. Thank you.
Sara Razak. I'm from the Institute of Clinical and Professional Psychology, France International University, Lahore. The topic of my presentation is doctor-patient relationship, illness perception, medication adherence in cancer patients. First of all, I'll discuss about my introduction. सबसे पहले जो है डॉक्टर पेशेंट रिलेशनशिप जो है वो कोर एलिमेंट समझा जाता है लाइफस्टाइल मेडिसिन का। ये जो है वो बेसिकली किसी भी क्रॉनिक कंडीशन के अंदर जो है वो हेल्थ प्रमोशन, प्रिवेंशन, अर्ली इंटरवेंशन, ट्रीटमेंट और इम्प्रूव मेडिकेशन के लिए मैनेजमेंट के लिए जो है वो बहुत ही जो है वो इम्पोर्टेंट रोल प्ले करता है। देन जो उसके बाद इसका बैकग्राउंड है, इसके बैकग्राउंड के अंदर जो है वो रिसर्चेस डिस्कस की गई हैं। जैसे कि एक रिसर्च है, इसका टाइटल था एन इन्वेस्टिगेशन इन इलनेस परसेप्शन एंड एडहेरेंस अमंग हाइपरटेंसिव पेशेंट्स। इस रिसर्च का जो कंक्लूजन था, perception of their hypertension that was chronologically severe but stable disease, and the patients were confident in the effectiveness of the medical treatment. Okay, इसकी इफेक्टिवनेस जो है मेडिकल ट्रीटमेंट में जो और कॉन्फिडेंट लेवल पेशेंट का जो है वो बेहतर हो जाता है। देन इसके बाद एक और रिसर्च की गई थी टाइप 2 डायबिटीज के साथ। उसका टाइटल ये था रोल ऑफ इलनेस एंड मेडिकेशन परसेप्शन on medication, adherence to medication in a group of Iranian patients with type 2 diabetes. इसका जो रिजल्ट था वो बेसिकली ये था कि illness perception including timeline predicted a higher level of medication adherence, while medication belief predicted a lower level of adherence to medications. यानी कि पेशेंट का जो है वो मेडिकेशन एडहेरेंस जो है वो हाई हो जाती है, हायर लेवल तक मेडिकेशन एडहेरेंस जो है वो रिस्पॉन्स करती है। मेरी जो रिसर्च थी उसके ऑब्जेक्टिव्स कुछ ये थे to examine the doctor-patient relationship, patient perception of the disease and medication adherence. Then उसके बाद the doctor-patient relationship would be a good predictor of perception of disease adherence to medicine to examine the study. Then gender differences explore किया गया था. Then last में जो था वो exploring the difference between newly diagnosed patients and those patients who diagnosed a year before. Then hypothesis जो है उसमें सबसे पहला जो hypothesis था there would be a relationship between the doctor-patient relationship would be a positive predictor of illness perception and medication adherence. There would be a significant difference in male and female individuation with illness perception, medication adherence. Last one is illness perception is mediate relationship between doctor-patient relationship and medication adherence. These are the hypotheses. Then methodology. सर्वे रिसर्च डिजाइन जो है वो यूज किया गया है, कन्वीनियंस सैम्पलिंग टेक्निक यूज की गई, 150 जो है वो कैंसर पेशेंट्स का जो पॉपुलेशन यूज की गई थी, जिनकी एज जो है वो 35 से 60 के दरमियान थी। मेल 52% लिए गए, जबकि फीमेल जो है 48% थे। इसके इंक्लूजन क्राइटेरिया के अंदर कैंसर पेशेंट्स होने चाहिए, एजुकेटेड पॉपुलेशन होनी चाहिए, मैन फीमेल दोनों अलाउड। एक्सक्लूजन क्राइटेरिया के अंदर जो है वो ओल्ड एज पेशेंट्स नहीं अलाउड थे, इनके 60 प्लस नहीं अलाउड थे, क्योंकि उनके उस एज में पहुंचकर जो है वो और भी काफी सारी डिजीजेस जो है वो कॉमॉर्बिड हो रही होती हैं। नॉन कैंसर पेशेंट्स जो है वो नहीं अलाउड, उसके अंदर अलाउड थे। इसके बाद जो है वो डॉक्टर पेशेंट रिलेशनशिप इंडिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल के तौर पे काम किया था। देन जो है वो इलनेस परसेप्शन जो है उसने मेडिएट रोल प्ले किया था, और मेडिकेशन एडहेरेंस जो था वो डिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल था, मेडिकेशन एडहेरेंस कैंसर पेशेंट्स। इनके डॉक्टर का पेशेंट के साथ रिलेशनशिप अगर अच्छा होगा, वो शुरू से उसको अच्छा गाइड करेगा, तो कैंसर को एक बहुत बड़ी और बहुत टेरिबल सी न्यूज होती है जब आपको पता चलता है। तो उसके अंदर अगर डॉक्टर का
Thank you, Dr. Saram. I would like to call our next presenter, Dr. Suhaib Ahmed, 4-year MBBS student from Fizaya Medical College. His topic of presentation is Happiness Index of Undergraduate Students of Air University, Islamabad.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Sohaib Ahmed and I am from Fizaya Medical College, Islamabad. The topic of our research is Happiness Index of Undergraduate Students of Air University, Islamabad. What is happiness? It is very hard to define it, but we all can accept that it is a very important determinant of mental and physical health. Several studies have been conducted which shows that happiness is an important determinant of along with its various lifestyle parameters. But to our knowledge, there has been no study conducted in Islamabad about the happiness level of university students and its determinants. For this, we calculated happiness score of students using Oxford Happiness Questionnaire, and to determine the various factors that affected the level of happiness using a structured questionnaire. We especially looked into how the COVID pandemic affected the happiness level of students. It was an analytical cross-sectional study on the students of age group 18 to 26 who gave us written informed consent. Students who were diagnosed with any psychiatric condition like OCD, anxiety, and depression were not part of our study. Null hypothesis was happiness level of students is not affected by various lifestyle parameters. We opted for simple random sampling. A sample size of 350 was recruited through probability sampling. So basically, we had two goals. First, to calculate the happiness score of students using Oxford Happiness Questionnaire, by which we stratified the students into different levels of happiness. Second, we tried to find out how the various lifestyle parameters have affected the happiness level of students by a self-constructed questionnaire. We can see that we have divided this demographics graph into medical and non-medical students. Most of our population was from the age group of 21 to 23. Females were more in number than males. As we can see from the graph that the COVID pandemic had negatively affected the happiness level of students. Also, the result was statistically insignificant, but it had an important effect on happiness level of students. Now we can see after we did cross-tabulation and chi-square testing, these were significantly associated with happiness level, which includes three or more meals in a day, quality of sleep, academic score, improvement in life by use of technology, and social interaction. Next, we can see that there's a bar chart showing that those students who were academically well were more happy than the students who were not. The more the academic performance was good, the more the happier were the students. But interestingly, we can see that there is a cutoff point that after 80%, the academic performance did not affect the happiness level of students. So I would like to support our study with these references. The first study was conducted in Iran, which showed those students who took 3 or more meals in a day were more happy than the students who did not. Our study showed similar results with a p-value of 0.000. The second study was conducted in Turkey, which showed those who were physically active and took more part in physical activities were more happy than the students who did not. Our study showed similar results with a p-value of 0.026. Next study was conducted in Chandigarh, India, which showed that there is a linear relationship between happiness and academic performance. Our study showed similar result with a p-value of 0.025. So the null hypothesis is basically rejected, as it tells us that the various lifestyle parameters, including diet, sleep, social interaction, technology, do affect the happiness level of students. After conducting our research, we come to following these recommendations: that future studies should be conducted with a larger sample size. Students should be provided with healthy food choices in university, and physical activities should be promoted by arranging regular sports sessions. Importance of sleep and appropriate use of technology should be highlighted through different seminars. Student counselors should conduct regular sessions to help students so that they can succeed academically and socially. Thank you. Any questions? सर बेसिकली हमने जब चेक किया तो सर हमें ये पता लगा, जब हमने मेडिकल और नॉन मेडिकल कंपेयर किया तो हमें पता लगा कि मेडिकल स्टूडेंट्स आर मोर हैप्पी अनहैप्पी देन द अदर स्टूडेंट्स. और हमने बेसिकली एम्फसाइज किया कि हाउ वी कैन इम्प्रूव देयर कंडीशन, लाइक वी डोंट फाइंड एन इनफ टाइम टू अरेंज स्पोर्ट्स सेशन ड्यूरिंग आवर सेशन, बिकॉज स्टडी लोड सर हमारे पास बहुत ज्यादा होता है. तो सर हमें उसके लिए स्पेसिफिकली अपना एक टाइम मैनेज करना चाहिए, और हम लोग खाने पीने के मामले में भी बहुत ज्यादा रिलक्टेंट हैं. सर बेसिकली जो हमारा रिजल्ट आया सर वो तो जी सर, सर द वन हु डिजायर्स, सर द वन हु डिजायर्स. सर लेकिन इस केस में हम उसको पूरी नहीं कर सकते, लेकिन उनको बेहतर तो कर सकते हैं.
Thank you, Dr. Sohaib. I request next presenter, Afifa Jameel, MBBS student of Azaya Medical College, to share her knowledge with us. She is going to present knowledge, attitude, and practices towards osteoporosis among postmenopausal women in Islamabad.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Afifa Jameel and I'm a fourth-year medical student from Fazaya Medical College. The topic of my presentation is knowledge, attitude, and practices towards osteoporosis among postmenopausal women in Islamabad. Talking about osteoporosis, osteoporosis is a major health concern around the world. It is characterized by the systemic impairment of bone mass and microarchitecture resulting in porous bones. Therefore, it decreases the strength of bone and bone density, therefore increasing the risk of fractures. It can affect both the genders. However, it is more common in women because of primarily three reasons: women naturally having lesser bone mass, pregnancy consuming a lot of calcium, and most important, cessation of estrogen after menopause. In Pakistan, the prevalence of osteoporosis among postmenopausal women was found to be 6.7%. It is seen that osteoporosis continues to be under-recognized in many different parts of Pakistan, and majority of the osteoporotic hip fractures also occur in this age group. Therefore, the aim of our study was to assess the awareness regarding osteoporosis among postmenopausal women in Islamabad. For that, the objectives were to determine their knowledge and to understand their attitude and practices towards prevention of the disease. We conducted a descriptive cross-sectional survey among postmenopausal women residing in Islamabad. Our inclusion criteria was to include the postmenopausal women. These are the women who were defined as those who did not have their menstrual bleeding at least for a year in the absence of any medical condition or surgery. The women who are well conversant in either Urdu and English, and given the pandemic, the women who had access to the internet. The sample size was calculated to be 97 using a WHO online sample calculator with a confidence level of 95% and a margin of error being 10%. We adapted for simple random sampling. For data collection, we used a self-administered questionnaire comprising of 35 questions based on OHBS scale. The questionnaire was distributed online and it was divided into 4 parts, each dedicated to demographic information, knowledge, attitude, and practices respectively. For data analysis, we used SPSS software version 23. The results were interpreted in the form of graphs and tables. Figure 1 shows that 88% of the women were able to recognize female gender as a risk factor. About 80% of the women recognized both obesity and menopause as a risk factor, and 72% agreed that lack of exercise plays a role in the development of the disease. For better understanding, we did scoring of the knowledge questions. We had a total of 35 questions, out of which 16 were dedicated to knowledge, and then we divided the scores into the following categories. 46% of the women had good knowledge, which meant that they were able to answer 12 to 16 questions correctly, 16 being the maximum. 30% of the participants had average knowledge, which meant they answered 9 to 11 questions correctly. And 24% had poor knowledge, which meant that they were only able to answer 0 to 8 questions correctly. If we add the scores of the good and average knowledge, we see that overall 76% of the women had adequate knowledge, which I must add was a pleasant finding. Figure 2 shows a pie chart which says that 48% of the women practice the preventive measures, whereas the 52% were non-practicing. Figure 3 is a bar chart that shows different preventive measures practiced by the women, and we can see that more than 60% of the women regularly took their vitamin D and calcium supplements, but only 50% were practicing weight-bearing exercises. Table 2 is a comparison of practices with different age groups, and it was observed that the practice of taking vitamin D and calcium supplements regularly increased with increasing age, whereas the practice of weight-bearing exercises decreased with increasing age. So in the end, I would like to conclude that the postmenopausal women, which were our study participants, had adequate knowledge regarding osteoporosis, but they lacked in their preventive practices. So I would recommend that we must educate all women, especially the perimenopausal women, regarding the key risk factors of osteoporosis. We should encourage them to practice preventive measures and motivate them to do routine follow-ups with their respective physicians. Thank you. Any questions? Sure, sir. Go ahead. Yes, sir. With increasing age, yeah. Sir, can I go back to, I don't know. Can someone help me with sharing this screen? It was seen that the practice of weight-bearing exercise decreased with increasing age. Can we go back? As we can see in the data, I don't know, I can't share my screen. Can I have somebody who can also display the results? But basically, the higher age group, like 56 years and above women, the ratio decreased. We can see that initially they would practice like 40 to 55 years women would practice, like the ratio was, or the numbers was 58% of the women were practicing the exercises, but yeah. So the first one is, do you practice weight-bearing exercises? And we can see the last column in which we have 56 years and above women, and only 41% of them are practicing. Whereas previously we can see that we have higher percentages. Am I clear? Yeah. Yes. But even we can see the number of the participants. The last one has 44 participants.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So first, if I'm a woman and as I increase with age, I think overall, generally, everybody should practice weight-bearing exercises, such as lift weight and climb stairs, so that it puts pressure on your bones or increase current strength. So weight-bearing exercises kare, then regularly take your vitamin D and calcium supplements. Also get your vitamin D levels checked as well. And if you, especially if you are a postmenopausal women, get your bone mass density checked as well. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Afifa. Mujaddad Ashraf, student of Fazaya Medical College, will now present pre-pandemic to pandemic tracking screen time among students and its association with eye strain, sleep disturbances, and headache. Dr. Mujaddad.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mujaddad Ashraf. I'm a student of 4th year Fazaya Medical College. And today I'll be presenting to you on my research pre-pandemic to pandemic, tracking screen time among students and its association with eye strain, headaches, and sleep disturbances. Digital screens are always a cause of concern for one's health, and with a shift towards online education since the start of COVID-19 pandemic, the amount of time one was exposed to screens has undeniably increased. This was certain to bring about, this was certain to affect the health of the students. So our study basically tried to find out the relation between increase in screen time and the effect that it had on the students, especially regarding digital eye strain, sleep disturbances, and headache. Our objectives were to assess the usage of screens during the pandemic and compared with pre-pandemic times, to assess the proportion of participants who experienced digital eye strain, headache, and sleep disturbances, and to find the association between the two. Our study design was analytical cross-sectional, which included the university students or undergraduates from the universities of Islamabad and Rawalpindi. We included students irrespective of gender and age who were enrolled in university and had taken some kind of online class. Our sample size came out to be 413, and our variables were screen time, headache, changes in quality and pattern of sleep, and eye strain. We used non-probability convenience sampling, and after the approval of IRB of Fazaya Medical College, a self-administered semi-structured questionnaire was developed and was distributed to the participants using the researchers' social media network connections. Pretesting was done on 5% of individuals, and our data was analyzed both descriptively and inferentially. Now, coming on to results, as we can clearly see in this diagram, the average hours spent using devices increased from before the pandemic to during the pandemic by a whopping 4.5 hours. Again, in the next figure, we can see the cross tabs between an increase in screen time and increase in frequency of eye symptoms. As you can see, the numbers here are statistically significant. As also seen in this next diagram, the number of individuals who complained of eye strains before the pandemic was 24%, and it increased to 80% during the pandemic. These eye complaints varied from refractive errors to allergic symptoms. Again, we can see a cross tabs between increase in screen time associated with increase in frequency of headache since the start of online classes. Again, we can see that the data is statistically significant. Here we can see the frequency of headache after exposure to screen and severity of headache after exposure to screens. It should be noted here that the students told us that an average hours of 3.3 hours was, an average time of 3.3 hours in front of screens was necessary for development of a headache. Our next section included questionnaire for sleep, where we found that majority of students reported getting less than 7 hours of sleep during the pandemic, and 70% of the students agreed that an increase in screen time during the pandemic affected the quality of their sleep. 79% of students felt that they were drowsy or sleepy during the day due to inadequate sleep at night because of online classes. So based on our results, we have concluded that there was a significant increase in screen time from before the pandemic to during the pandemic due to implementation of online classes, and that this was responsible for an increase in headache, eye strain, and sleep disturbances. So basically, we can recommend first of all, we can recommend the educational institutions to keep this fact of increase in screen time in mind while planning their academic activities, and to give breaks between their lectures, and to prevent giving any homework or assignment to the students which requires them to work on screens late at night. That being said, we believe that the student is the absolute master of his own health. However, being healthcare professionals, we can arrange awareness sessions for students about how increased screen time affects their holistic health and how they can set consistent limits to develop healthy habits so as not to compromise on education, sleep, eye, and mental health. That would conclude my presentation. Thank you. So, आम दिनों में, as you can see,
Then we are out of pandemic.
Sir, तो as screen time तो तब भी था, लेकिन during the pandemic the screen time has increased. As the data showed that there was an increase of almost 5 hours.
Village है ना?
Basically पहले तो 8 घंटे कम से कम आप कह लें कि जो students हैं वो college में होते थे where there was minimal exposure to screens. अब वो घर जाके क्या करते हैं, गेम्स खेलते हैं या सीजन्स देखते हैं, वो तो उनकी अपना लेजर टाइम है।
तो डिस्टेंस लर्निंग पे वो भी स्क्रीन के सामने ही थे जो कॉलेज टाइम था उसमें भी।
जी, वो तो डिस्टेंस हो गया ना, ड्यूरिंग द पेंडेमिक हो गया वो, तो दैट फैक्टर कॉज्ड एन इंक्रीज इन स्क्रीन टाइम।
क्या करना चाहिए
सर? बेसिकली एज वी सेड कि एक तो इंस्टीट्यूशंस कर सकते हैं कि वो सेट लिमिट्स दे दें बीच में, या कोई ऐसी असाइनमेंट्स या होमवर्क ना दें जो जिससे स्टूडेंट्स रात को स्क्रीन पे काम करें, कह दें कि आप पेपर पे करके लाएं असाइनमेंट वगैरह। दूसरा, जैसे मैंने पहले बात की कि स्टूडेंट अपना मास्टर ऑफ हिज ओन हेल्थ है, ठीक है, सो इट्स इवेंचुअली एंड इट्स अप टू द स्टूडेंट के उसने
आसान लफ्जों में बंदे दे पुत्र बनो,
बेसिक।
ठीक है
जी सर,
थैंक यू वेरी मच।
थैंक यू।
Thank you, Dr. Mujaddad. I will now request Dr. Ayaz Bhatti to kindly conclude the session, sir.
थैंक यू वेरी मच। मेरे लिए इंतहाई खुशी की बात थी कि हमारे यंग स्टूडेंट्स रिसर्च की तरफ माइल हो रहे हैं, और आई कांग्रेचुलेट देम। बेसिकली रिसर्च इज नॉट ओनली द रिसर्च but this is the innovation and the creativity. As this conference is on lifestyle medicine, so I will like to explain what do we mean by that. लाइफ को कहा गया था कि जिंदगी क्या है अनासिर में ज़हूरे तरतीब, मौत क्या है इन्हीं अज्जा का परेशान होना। दूसरा लफ्ज है स्टाइल, फलां दा बड़ा अच्छा स्टाइल है। इसी तरह लाइफ का स्टाइल भी अच्छा होना चाहिए। और स्टाइल है क्या? द वे आई प्रेजेंट माई सेल्फ, जिस तरीके से मैं अपने आप को पेश करता हूं। नॉट ओनली ड्रेसिंग, जिंदगी 3 शोबों पर मुहित है। जिंदगी का जो एसन है, न्यूट्रिशन, वर्क एंड स्लीप। बाकी जितने मर्जी एट्रीब्यूट्स फैक्टर्स में उसको डिवाइड कर लें, लेकिन बुनियाद उसकी इन 3 चीजों पर रहती है। खाएंगे नहीं तो काम कैसे करेंगे, और काम करके थकेंगे तो फिर क्या करेंगे। तो जिंदगी जो है वो इन 3 शोबों पर हमने तकसीम की है। खाना पीना, काम करना, सो जाना, फिर पक्का ही सो जाना। दूसरी चीज जो मुझे इसमें से समझ आई कि इस चीज को हासिल करने के लिए और लाइफ स्टाइल मेडिसिन को अप्लाई करने के लिए मुझे 4 चीजें मिली, जिसके जरिए हम इस लाइफ स्टाइल को अपना सकते हैं। उसमें से एक को कहते हैं तमीज। सुना होगा कहीं, शायद मुलाकात भी हुई हो। सेकंड वन इज द शाइस्तगी। तीसरा है तवाजन, और चौथा है तहजीब, जो कभी कभार माँ बाप सिखाया करते थे, आजकल फीस दे के कहते हैं उस्ताद सिखाया करें। तो लाइफ स्टाइल मेडिसिन को अप्लाई करने के लिए आपको इन 4 चीजों की जरूरत पड़ेगी। तमीज, शाइस्तगी, तवाजन एंड तहजीब। करना क्या है हमने, इसके जरिए क्या हासिल करना क्या चाहते हैं हम? तो सिर्फ 4 चीजें हम हासिल करना चाहते हैं। हर रिसर्च, हर इल्म, हर प्रैक्टिस, तमाम की तमाम 4 चीजों के लिए की जाती हैं। और उसमें से एक है, हम ढूंढे बच्चे भी जिस पे इन्होंने रिसर्च की है, एक्चुअली दे वर फाइंडिंग समथिंग आउट ऑफ दिस रिसर्च, एंड दोज 4 थिंग्स आर, वन इज द एसोसिएशन। इनमें आपस में क्या एसोसिएशन है? जो चीजें मैं बयान करने चला हूं, ये स्क्रीन टाइम और पेंडेमिक टाइम, इन दोनों में क्या एसोसिएशन थी? I tried to find out that. दूसरी बच्ची ने, she tried to find out the relationship in between the osteoporosis and the age. तो एक चीज तो हुई कि हमारी तमाम रिसर्च, इनोवेशन, क्रिएशन, नॉलेज, प्रैक्टिस, whatever attitude you adopt, you want to find out whether there is any association. Number 2, whether there is any relationship. Number 3, is there an attribute or exposure? क्या मुझे exposure ढूंढना है भी या नहीं? And the 4th one and the most strongest one and the most conclusive is the causation. जहां पे बात खत्म हो जाती है कि ये चीज है, जहां तेल है और जहां आग है, उन दोनों ने आपस में आग जलानी है। So therefore you must keep in mind that whenever you do any research, you have to find out these 4 relationships: association, correlation, exposure and the causation. तो मैंने चंद एक यही गुजारिशात करनी थी। If you want to ask anything about the lifestyle medicine, मैं हाजिर खिदमत हूँ, और अपने कम इल्मी के साथ जो कुछ मुझे आता होगा मैं आपको करूँगा। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Thank you, sir. I will request Dr. Shagufta Feroz to kindly come on stage. and to present certificates of appreciation. Now I request Dr. Rabia Hanif and Dr. Tahira Sadiq, the co-chairpersons, to kindly receive their certificates. Now I request Dr. Ayaz Bhatti and Dr. Sadia Sultana to receive their certificates. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. You are requested to take your seats. Now I'll hand over this to the next moderator, Dr. Sanya Saeed.
बाद में फिर आपको मेडिसिन न्यूट्रिशन के तौर पर खानी पड़ेगी, तो ये तवाज़ुन का वो डोमेन है. थैंक यू वेरी मच.
May I have permission to start? Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you all to this auspicious International Lifestyle Medicine Conference. My name is Dr. Sanya Saeed. I am currently enrolled in the MDS postgraduate residency program in the field of orthodontics at Islamic International Dental College. I will be moderating theme 6, that is stunted growth in children, which will be held from 11:30 to 12:30 p.m. inshallah. The co-chairperson for this session is Professor Dr. Afshin Zafar. She is a professor of surgery at Islamic International Medical College and is also working at Railway Hospital, Islamabad. Ma'am, you're requested to come to the stage and take your seat. Thank you, ma'am. The chairperson for this session is Professor Dr. Tahir Chaudhry. He is the head of department and professor of pediatrics at Islamic International Medical College. I would like him to call him on stage and for him to resume his seat. Thank you, sir. For this session, we have 3 keynote speakers. Our first keynote speaker is Professor Dr. Rashid Latif. He holds an eminent place among the medical community in the region. He has a long list of awards and certificates under his belt, including Sitare Imtiaz from Government of Pakistan, Merit Award from Pakistan Academy of Medical Sciences, and Shield of Honor from Allama Iqbal Medical College, Mayor of Metropolitan Corporation, and Pakistan Medical Association, Lahore. He is the pioneer of ART program, and he established the first IVF center in 1985. He will be joining us virtually and will share his views on holistic parenting to the audience. I request the IT department connect us with him. IT department.
Hello. Can you hear me? Do you hear me? Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Can I go on? I suppose so. Before I start saying anything else, I must compliment the medical students of Faiziya Medical College for presenting their research work. Mashallah, it's a great thing because in our undergraduate education, research is not the part of their curriculum. And your medical college is encouraging you to do this kind of research, which will take you a long way. And I'm so glad that you presented your work in this international meeting. Then I must thank the organizers of this conference, Dr. Shagufta Firoz and Dr. Nashi Khan, for inviting me to speak to you. They have initiated this association, which is Pakistan Association of Lifestyle and Medicine, that is PALM. It started only 5 or 6 years ago. It's a great leap forward because we are still stuck in our courses and syllabi with the old-fashioned distribution of various subjects. This is the need of the time, lifestyle, because during last few decades, I personally feel we are kind of lost. We have to refresh our memory, what is the right lifestyle and how we should go about it. I must compliment them that they have divided this palm into preventive and therapeutic, two divisions. Both are essential. Today, most of the speakers will be talking about prevention, but therapeutics is also important. The subject given to me is holistic parenting. Tough job, tough subject, because the whole society revolves around parenting. How we bring our children up, how we groom them. And when I look at the international statistics, that in Pakistan, more than 40% children are stunted. They have stunted growth. It's a tragedy. Are we a nation where 40% of our future generation is not going to participate in the growth of Pakistan and development of Pakistan? It's a tragedy. We must face and must do something about it. We must take steps to correct this. And three important factors. Dr. Ayaz Bhatti, mashallah, he summed up the subject in few minutes, and I take it from him that three important components of child's grooming are parents and family at home, the environment, social, political, environmental, all that around the child, and the school where they go and get educated. Just very briefly, first I'll talk about school. I went to Central Model School of Lahore. Those days, that was the best school. And believe it, I did my matriculation in 1952. Now you can work out my age. That only 4 or 5 years ago, one of my class fellows, he had lunch for his class fellows in the school. And we were 43 who collected in that. First, a large number. And secondly, most of them had retired from the senior most positions in police, in the civil service, in army, engineering, medicine, and all that. So I personally feel so many from one class and did so well. School was responsible for that. So our schools, unfortunately, our education system has deteriorated so badly. They are not performing their job well. Whereas I remember going to Beijing, and there the emperor's quarters, which were known as prohibited quarters, there we went on a guided tour, and there was a school in that prohibited quarters. I asked the guide, who went to these schools? He said the princes and the common men, common boys. So schooling is so important socially, and unfortunately, that we are not giving the best to our students. And now the topic which has been given to me, parents. Holistic parenting. The word holistic is very important. It's not only providing some money to go to the good school and have good uniform. It's a holistic school parenting. Before we go into the details of that, we all know children brought up by divorced parents, separated parents, and adopted parents, their behaviors are different. So it's so important that parents should be at peace at home, and they should not have kind of unruly behavior for each other or for their children. So the home of environment should be loving and caring. And secondly, the discipline of parents, what they do is visible to their children. If they tell a lie, their children will tell a lie. If they do things on time, then the children will be groomed into doing things on time. And luckily these days, still, we have joint family system. We have grandparents, uncles and aunts living with us. So they are also important factors in grooming of the children, then these are the days when in those who can afford Filipino maids and kind of children left to them, whereas mother's attitude, mother's grooming is different to the maid's grooming. I remember Winston Churchill, who was Prime Minister of England, he was brought up by his nanny. He had very strange relationship with mother. When he was Prime Minister, the nanny fell ill and Prime Minister went up north, stayed with the nanny for 4 days, and he forgot about his Prime Minister's assignments. He was so attached to nanny than mother. So as mothers and fathers, we have to take care that children are attached to us. And their parents' responsibilities, there's a long list. Perhaps my list is not complete. It's incomplete. But the prominent features which I thought I must bring up and show them to you, I have pointed out 10 features of parents or responsibilities of parents. First responsibility is prevention of disease. That is, we must ensure that our young children, when they are in only months old or very young, 4 or 5 years, they are properly vaccinated. In addition to that, that they should be properly fed, and breastfeeding, as our religion promotes, for 2 years or so is so important. And bottle feeding is not as good as breastfeeding. So they should be fed well, and they should be vaccinated, and proper care for infections, and nutrition should be taken. Second factor, nutrition. Well, these days are junk food. Everywhere you find the children are ordering for burger, pizza, things like that. The name is junk food. And we don't discourage them. As a matter of fact, if I may use the word, we encourage them to eat junk food. And that is the basic source of their physical health. So their diet is very poor. We should take care that they are given proper diet, as which should be not good only in nutrition and taste. It should provide sufficient minerals, vitamins, which are essential for them. Then, after nutrition, the first thing which I think of in the behavior is honesty. We must teach our children to be honest. Unfortunately, every day on television, everywhere, we hear that corruption doesn't matter, dishonesty doesn't matter. Our society has deteriorated to that level. We have to work very hard to eliminate these bad habits. And for that, you must teach your own child to be honest and to work according to the schedule. Next is hard work. Well, we have become lazy nation. Being late, doing job incomplete, doesn't matter. Our attitude is that. Or believe it, hard work is one feature. If you inculcate that habit in your child, he'll make it to the top. Because there's no alternative to hard work. You know, my mother was a different mother. We all think our mothers were different, but they were so loving, caring, affectionate. No, not my mother. She was a strict disciplinarian. I was brought up in a joint family where my uncles and aunts and my cousins, we all lived in the same house because my grandfather looked after the whole household. But my uncles and aunts, their they were very loving and caring. So they would not push their children to work hard. Whereas my mother, she would wake me up before azan and tell me, एक घंटा पहले जागे है जरा एक घंटा एक्स्ट्रा पढ़ लेगा तेरे काम आ जाएगा. And believe it, this habit of waking up early and doing some studies is still with me to date. I thank my mother for it. And secondly, it is a part of hard work. If you have any extra work to do in the house, make your child to do that so that he learns that by doing that extra work, it will not harm him. As a matter of fact, it will promote good habit of working and helping others. Then next is care of physical and mental health. Unfortunately, the computer, the telephone in every hand. Children don't read literature. They don't do the academics the way we did it. So for that, at least encourage them to do crosswords and Scrabble on telephone if at all they must do it. So instead of just watching the games which do not promote intellect. Well, social grooming. I always tell my students, you know, why MBBS doctor sitting across a quack, a charlatan, why he does not succeed as well as the quack does. It is his interaction with patients, socially, how he behaves with his patients. We do not learn that in a medical school and subsequently. But those who learn this, mind you, your relationship, the way you conduct yourself, the way you talk to the patient is more important than your knowledge and skill. And so those quacks who have it better, they have better of you as well. So social grooming, how to act or interact with your colleagues, with the seniors, with the juniors is part of parental grooming. They must teach them that. And then next is regularity in life. Somehow it's totally missing. We don't mean 7 o'clock as 7 o'clock. Appointment is 7 o'clock, you may reach there 9 o'clock or late. As a matter, yesterday I asked the organizers how late the program will run. She said, no, sir, on time. I told her that 10 to 15 minutes being late, I don't mind. In Pakistani standards, that's on time. And our program today is running 20 minutes late. We are not setting right examples. So regularity is most important. Then care of our elders. We must learn how to treat our elders, our dada, nana, nani, all that. It's not their love and affection. You learn so much from them by sitting with them, with their wisdom, with their long experience. I know, I read somewhere that in America, some child said, my grandparents live at airport because he knew only this much. When they visited, they left them at the airport. They didn't have this kind of connection. And mind you, the lack of such interaction and communication and family relationship is one of the responsible for deterioration of that society. Next, we are all very blessed people. All those who are sitting there in the hall, Pakistan has taken good care of your parents and you. That's why you're sitting here. You are not deprived of anything. But we have responsibility for those who are deficient in this, who don't have it, the comforts, and they can't buy it. So we must learn, we must tell our children to look after our poor relatives and neighbors. I remember when I was a student, our teacher, Professor Naziruddin, he always supported one student admission into medical college and requested him that when you become a doctor, you will also promote and support one doctor. I don't know whether they're doing it or not, but such good traditions must be laid down by us. So we must care and look after our neighbors, our poor relatives. Everybody has poor relatives. Don't tell me. Even Queen Elizabeth has poor relatives. So take care of them. And last of all, number 10. We are Muslims because we were born Muslims. That is not the complete story. You have to be a Muslim in practice. What our religion tells us, what is written, we don't follow that. We maybe Jummah prayers, we do that maybe for public consumption. They see you going to the mosque. But there's so much to be done for the society. And that you must teach your children. That wherever you are, whatever you are, you will continue to look after your children. Before I finish, there's one thing which I always say and continue to recommend and promote. Love Pakistan. You know, when I hear that those who are well off here, their children, sons and daughters are going to America, Canada, Australia, and buying immigration, I always tell them, the money they are buying with, who gave them this money? Pakistan did. So instead of love for Pakistan, they have bad words, bad comments about Pakistan. We must groom our children to love Pakistan. I have 4 children. 2 of them, my sons are doctors. My daughters are not doctors, but they are linked with the health profession. They are working. They are all living in Lahore. And one of my children, my elder son, as a matter of fact, told me one day that he was sitting with friends and the friends said, why don't you immigrate? You can immigrate. You got money. Everybody's going to Canada. Everybody's going to America. He said, in my household, I've never heard my parents or anybody saying a word against Pakistan. Why should I leave Pakistan? Pakistan has given me everything. So all those who are sitting in the hall are medical students. Being a medical student in a private college is not easy, mind you. Your parents have provided you that. And those who are doctors, we are doctors because we are in Pakistan. And we are specialists because we have large number of patients to take care. So I finish here. Teach your children to love Pakistan and be a Muslim and practicing Muslim and follow what Islam tells us. Thank you very much. I appreciate that you have invited me to participate in this international conference, and I hope that we go back home wiser. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing this piece of knowledge, and a special thanks from Dr. Shagufta to Dr. Tahir Choudhury. Rashid Latif. Okay, the next speaker on board with us is Professor Dr. Sadia Sultana. She is the Professor of Ops and Gynecology, as well as the Chairperson Curriculum Committee at Islamic International Medical College. Ma'am, kindly come to the stage and share your views on role of synchronized lifestyle modification in preconception health.
Heart-touching, moving, and birth-reflecting talk. Sir is a teacher of my own teachers, Dr. Tayyab, Dr. Professor Aslam, and sir is teacher of all the teachers. And thank you so much, sir. As a society, we need to reflect on all these things. Patriotism अपनी जगह सर, लेकिन आजकल ये जो कुछ इवेंट्स और ये सारी चीजें हैं, इससे थोड़ा सा डिप्रेशन और ये तो सर पेरेंटिंग से आपकी टॉक, थैंक यू सो मच सर. कंटिन्यूइंग फ्रॉम हियर, इसका स्लाइड सॉर्टर होगा मेरे पास? स्लाइड सॉर्टर है या यहीं से कर दूं? इधर से करना? अच्छा जी. सर ने बात की पेरेंटिंग आफ्टर बर्थ ऑफ द बेबी. आई विल टॉक अबाउट before birth and in utero life. The effect of the environment, of society, of diet, of everything starts before birth, which is actually preconception care. अभी भी हमने बात की कि आपकी environment, आपकी बच्चे की growth, उसकी even जो जिस वक्त the idea starts from the fact that when a mother conceives a baby who is a girl, at the time of zygote formation, the environment of that lady would be reflected as the adult. जब वो बड़ी होगी, जब वो adult बनेगी, तो उसकी जो personality, जो diseases, जो metabolic syndromes, जो underlying mutations, जो genetic expressions, वो उसी वक्त डिटरमिन हो जाते हैं जिस वक्त उसकी कंसेप्शन होती है. तो hence it is important to have optimal health before the birth, even before conception. So what it is and what it is not. Before jumping onto the main concept, I would like to share few very important facts. कुछ facts तो देख के आपका सर शर्म से झुक जाता है. और these are the facts जिनको हम अभी तक नहीं कंट्रोल कर सके, जिनको आपने कभी मीडिया पे नहीं देखा, कभी आपने कोई एडवर्टाइजमेंट देखी है जिसमें ये बताया गया हो कि माएँ मर रही हैं. The main reason of maternal mortality is still PPH. हम maternal mortality को नहीं कंट्रोल कर सकते. हम बातें करते हैं कि ये पॉलिटिशियन आ जाए और वो चला जाए और वो अमेरिका और वो ये, और मदर जब मर जाती है तो अगली 7-8 जनरेशन तबाह हो जाती है. माँ मर जाती है तो कोई नहीं संभालता, बाप मर जाता है तो बच्चे माँ फिर भी संभाल लेती है, उनकी मोरालिटी नहीं खराब होने देती. तो दीज आर द फैक्ट्स, और इस पे बेस करके फिर आई विल टॉक अबाउट द रैशनैलिटी ऑफ प्रीकंसेप्शन केयर. 8.5 आर अंडरवेट. ये वो है जो सिर्फ रिकॉर्ड होते हैं, जो नहीं आपके पास स्टेटिस्टिक्स वो तो आप इसको मल्टीप्लाई कर लें. Overweight more than 50%. Anemia in the society is around 50% of people, but the high risk people who are coming to the wards and OPDs, वो around 70 to 80%. हमारे जो indoor patient हैं, every other patient is having diabetes, every other patient is having every other से भी ज़्यादा 70%, 80% indoor patient आपके anemic हैं, especially जो potential mothers हैं या mothers असल में mothers हैं. अगर आप इस चार्ट को देखें तो दिस इज मैटरनल मोर्टेलिटी. हमारी मैटरनल मोर्टेलिटी यहाँ पे 185 लिखी हुई है, लेकिन इट इज द एवरेज मैटरनल मोर्टेलिटी ऑफ पाकिस्तान. आपकी मैटरनल मोर्टेलिटी रीजन वाइज है. बलोचिस्तान की मैटरनल मोर्टेलिटी इज क्लोजर टू 700, जितनी पूरी दुनिया में नहीं है कहीं पे. सिंध की 300s में है, पंजाब की तकरीबन इससे थोड़ी सी कम है, उसके बाद केपीके की है. तो हम अब आप देख लें कि हमें कितनी सारी चीजें देखनी है. कमिंग टू इन्फेंट एंड न्योनेट मोर्टेलिटी, आपका क्या ख्याल है, हम दुनिया में किस नंबर पे होंगे? सर तो अब याद करें, वी आर एट द टॉप, नंबर 1 in the world. These are the statistics of 2021. नाइजीरिया, हम कहते हैं दुनिया का सबसे गरीब कॉन्टिनेंट इज अफ्रीका, सबसे गरीब मुल्क इज नाइजीरिया. What to talk about? These are 2021 के statistics के 58 आपकी neonatal या ये 2019 की आपके statistics हैं infant mortality rate. You can Google it. You are all having mobiles in your hand. अगर आपको कोई शक है तो आप इसको Google कर सकते हैं. मैंने भी इसको सर्च करके निकाला है. Some few other facts. 4 out of 10 report that their pregnancies are unplanned. Perinatal death 50% higher among babies born to adolescent mother. फिर PIDs और infection में low birth weight and prematurity आ जाएगी आपके पास. आयरन डेफिशिएंसी एनीमिया में मैटरनल मोर्टेलिटी आपके पास 20% और ज्यादा हो जाएगी, जितनी है उससे भी ज्यादा हो जाएगी. फीमेल जेनिटल म्यूटेशन, HIV ट्रांसमिशंस, ये मेनली हमारी सोसाइटी की प्रॉब्लम्स नहीं है. सो द रैशनल इज बेस्ड ऑन ऑल दीज फैक्ट्स एंड फिगर्स. रैशनल ऑफ प्री कंसेप्शन केयर कि आपकी मैटरनल मोर्टेलिटी, आपकी न्यूबॉर्न इन्फेंट मोर्टेलिटी, दीज मोर्टेलिटीज आर अमंग द हाईएस्ट इन द वर्ल्ड. एंड इसकी वजह से आपकी प्री टर्म, प्री मैच्योर और बाकी सारी चीजें. WHO is developing global, it has developed, या कोई तकरीबन 2012 की बात है, उन्होंने ग्लोबल कंसेंसस दिया और पैकेज ऑफ इंटरवेंशंस फॉर दीज डेवलपिंग जो वर्ल्ड है उसके लिए, और उसमें मैक्सिमाइजिंग द गेन्स ऑफ मैटरनल एंड चाइल्ड हेल्थ, और इसमें बड़े बहुत सारे डॉक्यूमेंट्स, बहुत सारी फाइनेंशियल एड्स, और हम बहुत सारी बातें कर रहे होते हैं कि हम इस चीज की ले लें, फाइनेंस ले लें, हम HEC से NRPU कर लें, हम गवर्नमेंट से इस चीज़ की बात कर लें, हम कॉन्फ्रेंसेस के ऊपर भी जोर देते हैं, लेकिन हम इन बेसिक फैक्ट्स एंड फिगर जिससे हमारी सोसाइटी, ये जो हमारी सोसाइटी की अभी पिक्चर है ये मैटरनल हेल्थ की वजह से है. पुअर मैटरनल हेल्थ के साथ जो बच्चे पैदा होते हैं वो आमतौर पे सोसाइटी में इसी तरह से बिहेव करते हैं. एक बच्चा जो लो हीमोग्लोबिन की मदर से एक ट्रेडिशनल बर्थ अटेंडेंट के पास बर्थ एस्फिक्सिया से पैदा होगा, आपका क्या ख्याल है उसका ब्रेन एक पीक कॉग्निटिव लेवल पे काम करेगा? तो सोसाइटी इज एक्चुअली रिप्रेजेंटिंग आवर पॉलिसीज. हम इनको ब्लेम तो नहीं कर सकते एकदम से. आप फिर इनको एज अ रेवट जहां मर्जी चला लें, जो मर्जी इनको हायर कर ले और जो मर्जी करवा ले उनसे, बिकॉज उनका कॉग्निटिव लेवल उनके ऑप्टिमल पोटेंशियल पे काम नहीं कर रहा. WHO पैकेज जो है वो न्यूट्रिशनल कंडीशंस के लिए देता है आपको, प्रिवेंटेबल डिजीजेस के लिए, जेनेटिक कंडीशन, एनवायरमेंटल हेल्थ, फीमेल सेक्सुअली ट्रांसमिटेड इन्फेक्शंस, इंटरपर्सनल वायलेंस, टोबैको यूज. हमें जरूरत है कि हम इसको अप्रोच करें और वो करें. व्हाट इज प्री कंसेप्शन केयर? क्या ख्याल है प्री कंसेप्शन केयर क्या होनी चाहिए? हमारे गायनी के भी ट्रेनीज बैठे हुए जी. पॉलिसीज, इट इज द प्रोविजन ऑफ बायोमेडिकल, जो एज अ डॉक्टर हम दे रहे होते हैं, बिहेवियरल एंड सोशल हेल्थ इंटरवेंशंस to women and couples before conception occurs. Over time, we have realized that preconception health promotion provides a pathway to the primary prevention of many poor pregnancy. जब आप अब रिफ्लेक्ट करते हैं तो आपको पता चलता है कि अगर आपने प्री कंसेप्शन केयर की होती तो शायद आपके हालात बहुत बेहतर होते. पॉजिटिव इफेक्ट्स जो होते हैं प्री कंसेप्शन केयर के, वो वैरायटी है, रेंज है. Child, it affects on the child mortality, maternal mortality, birth defects, low birth weight. ये सारी चीजें आप प्रीनेटल प्री कंसेप्शन केयर के साथ एड्रेस कर सकते हैं. न्योनेटल हाइपोग्लाइसीमिया, मेंटल रिटार्डेशन, टाइप 2 डायबिटीज. जिस वक्त बेबी को मदर कंसीव करती है उस वक्त कंसीव मतलब जिस वक्त कंसेप्शन होती है उस वक्त उसके टिश्यू फ्लूइड में जो ग्लूकोज का लेवल होता है वो उस जीन को उस वक्त प्रोग्राम कर देता है कि ये बच्ची बड़ी होके इसको भी GDM होगा, या ये बच्चा बड़े होके इसको भी डायबिटीज होगी और इसको भी cardiac diseases होंगी. That is how we are heading towards tsunami of this diabetes, hypertension, cardiac disease, stroke, metabolic syndromes, polycystic ovarian disease कि हम preconception के ऊपर गौर नहीं फरमा रहे. The preconception movement is based on the realization that prenatal care starts too late to prevent many of these poor pregnancy outcomes. Women who have had better health before pregnancy have better outcomes. ये it is an established fact. इसके ऊपर आप कोई और research जो कर रहे हैं वो कर रहे हैं, लेकिन it is an established fact. A critical period. This is very important phrase. इसीलिए मैंने इसको स्लाइड पे अकेले लिख दिया. A critical period for the prevention of poor pregnancy outcome has already passed by the first prenatal visit. जो एम्ब्रियोजेनेसिस का क्रिटिकल टाइम है वो गुजर चुका होता है जब पेशेंट को पता चलता है कि वो प्रेग्नेंट है, इसलिए कि दैट इज हर 5th वीक ऑफ प्रेगनेंसी. ये डायग्राम रिप्रेजेंट कर रही है कि जिस वक्त फर्स्ट प्रीनेटल विजिट होता है ये रेड एरिया ऑलमोस्ट ऑलवेज हैज बीन, और वो फिर प्रेगनेंसी टेस्ट करके वो डॉक्टर के पास नहीं आते, वो घर में बैठे रहते हैं, उसके भी 2-3 हफ्ते बाद आते हैं, और 9 वीक्स पे 8 वीक्स पे एम्ब्रियोजेनेसिस कंप्लीट हो जाता है. उसके बाद वो गोली बंदूक से निकल जाती है. आप उसके बाद फिर बस वो फिर वही वाली बात है जो मैडम कह रही होती हैं शगुफ्ता कि लाइफस्टाइल मॉडिफिकेशन में और बीमारी हो जाने में दोनों चीजों में क्या फर्क है, ये वही फर्क है. In obstetrics, many of the determinants of outcomes are present before we ever meet our patients. अब वो determinants के ऊपर हमने नजर रखनी है, वो risks हैं जिनको हमने ढूंढना है. So these determinants are, some of these determinants are intendedness of conception, पहले हो गई, interpregnancy interval, maternal age अब आपके कंट्रोल में नहीं है, आपने बचपन से बच्चियों को नहीं बताया. Peak fertility time was 25 to 35. अब आर्टिफिशियल रिप्रोडक्टिव टेक्निक में जो लास्ट फीको की कॉन्फ्रेंस थी 18 to 32 ईयर्स, और अभी मेरे पास जो आते हैं पेशेंट्स उनको 32, 35, 30 ईयर्स पे मीनोपॉज. वो आहिस्ता आहिस्ता वो जो ये टीनेज प्रेगनेंसी के खिलाफ बोलते थे कि मुसलमान बहुत जल्दी शादियां और ये और वो, अब खुद ही वहां पे आ रहे हैं. अब मीनोपॉज हो जाता है, एनवायरमेंटल फैक्टर्स, लाइफस्टाइल, इन चीजों से. अब पीक फर्टिलिटी इज फ्रॉम 18 to 35. तो दैट इज हाउ वर्ल्ड इज चेंजिंग. पहले आपको पता है जो पैगंबरों का और वो सारा, हम हजरत खतीजा की शादी 40 इयर्स की एज में हुई थी और हजरत मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम के बच्चे उनसे थे. तो हमें अब ये देखना है कि टाइम हमारे पास कम है. आप व्हाट इज योर ओपिनियन अबाउट व्हेन टू इंटरवीन, कब इंटरवीन करना चाहिए प्रीनेटल केयर के लिए, कौन सा टाइम सबसे अप्रोप्रिएट होगा? इवन बिफोर, बिल्कुल 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 बिफोर कंसेप्शन हम एक प्रीनेटल विजिट रख लें, उसकी कोई खास वैल्यू नहीं है. जब बच्चा पैदा हो गया, स्कूल चला गया, स्कूल में, एडोलेसेंस में, हर टाइम उसको बताने की जरूरत है. बल्कि मैंने आपको ये कॉन्सेप्ट भी बता दिया कि जिस वक्त उसकी मदर ने कंसीव किया था तो उसकी मदर को ये बताया जाना था कि आपको जो जो इस वक्त डायबिटीज और जो जो मेटाबॉलिक सिंड्रोम की चीजें हो सकती हैं, ये इसको बड़े होके ये होनी है और वो फिर उसकी प्रेगनेंसी में रिफ्लेक्ट होंगी. सो आइडियल टाइम आप स्कूल से, एडोलेसेंस से एंड ऑल द रिप्रोडक्टिव ईयर्स. एग्जाम्पल्स में अब ये सब हम लोगों को पता है कि हमारे पास अपॉर्चुनिटी क्या है और उसको हम एड्रेस कैसे कर सकते हैं. अपॉर्चुनिटी आपके पास क्या है कि प्रिवेंशन ऑफ न्यूरल ट्यूब डिफेक्ट्स, एब्रप्शन, IUGR, आप फॉलिक एसिड दें. पुअर ग्लाइसेमिक कंट्रोल, सेक्रेलेजेनेसिस, कार्डियक डिफेक्ट, न्यूरल ट्यूब डिफेक्ट्स करता है, आप उसको आइडियल ग्लाइसेमिक कंट्रोल रखें बिफोर कंसेप्शन. अपॉर्चुनिटी इज के मेडिसिन प्रिस्क्राइब हो रही हैं, एनवायरमेंटल हैजर्ड्स हैं, उसका वर्क प्लेस ऐसा है, नॉर्मल ऑर्गन डेवलपमेंट में है, पीरियड ऑफ ऑर्गेनोजेनेसिस, यू शुड बी एबल टू एड्रेस दैट इवन बिफोर कंसेप्शन. व्हाट इज इन क्लिनिकल सेटिंग, व्हाट आर द डिफरेंट अपॉर्चुनिटीज जो आपके पास क्लिनिकल सेटिंग में है? देयर आर 3 मेन एरियाज: गिविंग प्रोटेक्शन, मैनेजिंग कंडीशंस एंड अवॉइडिंग एक्सपोजर्स. तो क्लिनिकल सेटिंग में आप अगर सिर्फ क्लिनिकल सेटिंग के बारे में सोच रहे हैं तो फॉलिक एसिड सप्लीमेंटेशंस हैं, इम्यूनाइजेशंस हैं, रूबेला, वेरिसेला, हेपेटाइटिस बी, ये हम सबको पता है कि पहले से आपको रूबेला अगर फर्स्ट ट्राइमेस्टर में हो जाए, यू हैव टू टर्मिनेट प्रेगनेंसी। तो अब इसमें क्या मसला है कि आप एक रूबेला की वैक्सीन लगा दें? हेपेटाइटिस बी के अगेंस्ट आप उसको प्रोटेक्ट करके रखें, उसको आइडियल लेवल्स रखें, उसका ये जो डिफरेंट मेटाबॉलिक डिसऑर्डर्स हैं, ओबेसिटी, हाइपोथायरॉयडिज्म, सेक्सुअली ट्रांसमिटेड डिजीजेस, ये सारी आप क्लिनिक में अवॉइडिंग एक्सपोजर्स, ओके, एंटी-सीजर्स ड्रग्स, ओरल एंटीकोएगुलेंट्स, alcohol use, tobacco use, you should avoid that. Then coming to the major threats to women's health are also major threats to the reproductive outcomes. These are few of the major threats. Number one is obesity. On women's health, it will cause diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, and disabilities. As reproductive outcome, you will see GDM, PII, thrombophlebitis, infertility, neural tubes defect with the same obesity. Then coming to underweight risk of osteoporosis and fragile health to the lady. And as reproductive outcome, infertility, low birth weight, and prematurity. Coming to the substance abuse, substance में alcohol, accidents, unintended pregnancy, addiction, and as reproductive outcome delayed, it will present as delayed fertility, spontaneous abortions, and fetal alcohol syndrome. Number one leading cause is heart disease. Number two leading cause is stroke, lung cancer third, and lung disease fourth. And iska jo sabka, the risk factor for all these things is tobacco use. And it will cause, as a reproductive outcome, it will cause infant mortality, morbidity, placental abnormalities, IUGR, placenta previa, and infant mortality and morbidity. And female is passive smoker. If the husband is smoking within the same room, so female is also the passive smoker. Then periodontal diseases cause heart diseases, stroke, respiratory diseases, and these are, as reproductive outcome, higher rates of preterm birth. So while seeing on all these things, we can see that we can apply the main principles of lifestyle medicine as a prenatal care. If we would be able to apply the main pillars of lifestyle medicine as a preconception approach or as a prophylactic measure, we can have a very good outcome. Issues in general awareness, number one is that the concept of preconception means nothing to the general public. The female gets importance just after becoming pregnant. Few people understand the importance of earlier weeks of pregnancy. Some thoughts about changing the reproductive prevention paradigm is every woman, every time should be the slogan. Whenever you meet a female, whenever you get a time from her childhood to adulthood to the reproductive years, you should advise her about conception, contraception, lifestyle modifications, and you should include other medical specialties. Advantages iski kya hai कि higher levels of women's wellness, preconception, health, and pregnancy outcome के ऊपर better effect होगा. Warning क्या है? Red flag. What we do not need is a new categorical service. हम कहेंगे we are now introducing a preconception clinic, preconception visit. That would never be a good idea. इसलिए कि it is an opportunistic thing. What we actually need is to strengthen health promotion and disease prevention for every woman, every time. Because a woman's health in and of itself is very important. And there is growing evidence that it is working in industrialized countries as well as in low and middle income countries. For example, Bangladesh, Philippines, and Sri Lanka, they are running successfully the prenatal care initiatives. There are a few of the preconception websites. This may show your love and before and beyond, and all these websites, they are giving materials, they are giving CME points to the doctors and other toolkits designed for the preconception cares. Challenge yourself. This is my request, to enrich your office strategies for health promotion, disease prevention. Because of shortage of time, I just have to conclude. Otherwise, this is an interactive slide actually. The reminder is coming again and again that time is short. So you should plan in your mind, you should reflect in your mind what are the 3 changes you can make, at least 3. Abhi aap kar lein abhi to. The article, this article is an excellent article. It will give you an insight into these things. So the take-home messages from my side are: for every woman of childbearing potential, every time she is seen, you should be able to identify the modifiable and non-modifiable risk factors for poor health and poor pregnancy outcome before conception. And every time is important after her birth. Provide timely risk reduction strategies to reduce the potential impact on her own health and the health of any future pregnancies. With this, I thank you so much. By the end of this session, give it. जी 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 जो आपका सेकंड पार्ट ऑफ क्वेश्चन था, वो आपके फर्स्ट पार्ट ऑफ क्वेश्चन का आंसर तो आपने उसमें दे दिया, ठीक है, कि ऐसी पॉलिसीज होनी चाहिए और ये और वो और सारा कुछ. The first part about the plant-based diet and animal-based diet. We do promote animal-based diet in pregnant ladies and in hemoglobin deficient females, because heme in the animal portion of जो भी है उसका hemoglobin, it absorbs as such as a molecule. So it is a different scenario for anemic and for pregnancy. We promote and we advocate high protein intake in pregnancies and in iron deficient people. But for a preconception care from childhood to adulthood and to plant-based nutrient dense diet is critically important for the prophylaxis and prevention of many chronic illnesses, many inflammatory processes, autoimmune disorders, and metabolic illnesses. This is another topic. If we would be having some time, some spare time at the end of this, this is an entirely different topic about education of boys and girls. This is very important. It is also part of preconception care, but we will discuss it if we could find some time by the end of the session.
Thank you, ma'am, for enlightening us with this information. Lastly, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Samia Nimullah. She is a professor of pediatrics and was the head of department at Islamic International Medical College. She will be joining us virtually and give a presentation on adverse childhood experiences and stunted growth. I would like to request the IT department to connect us with her. IT department, could you please connect ma'am ki slides? Thank you.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Firstly, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me here to share my thoughts with you. It has been a wonderful conference. I have listened to every presentation yesterday and today. And today, listening to Professor Rashid Latif was even a treat. I really congratulate all of you for this hard work. My topic today is adverse childhood experiences and stunted growth. This is a tree, and if you look at the tree has branches and roots are very wide. So adverse childhood experiences are really deeply rooted. They are the traumatic events which occur before 18 years of age. And unfortunately, this will lead to very negative long-term consequences in one's life. The prevalence is, looking at the prevalence in 2018 National Survey of Children Health data, there were about 30% of kids have 1 ACEs and 14% had 2 or more. In 2021, it was seen that 1 billion children are affected worldwide. In Pakistan, the rate is 52 to 58%, which is quite high. Now, what are ACEs? Adverse childhood experiences. We have child abuse, we have child neglect. They make 5 points, and household challenges from family members make another 5 points. Looking at the child abuse, which is physical, these are non-accidental injuries. And these non-accidental injuries, if we see, there are cigarette marks on this child. And looking at the child down, unfortunately, it's not very clear. It's the whole fist and the nails punched into the baby. If we look at this, now whole hot iron had been placed on the child's face. And the lower slide is periosteum, and which have been fractures. And they sometimes splash the kid, and they may have intracranial bleed and hemorrhages and skull fractures. These are children who have been abused many times, and unfortunately, look at their condition. This is very, very unfortunate. Now, after physical, there's emotional abuse as well. Emotional abuse you cannot see, so you don't know how it looks like. This is even worse than physical abuse, because the kids are told and they are afraid. The parents will tell you, "Hum aapko khana nahi denge," you not get your food, you not get your clothing, and then they have derogatory remarks on the children, and they have very bad psychological effects after that. Sexual abuse, the older children or older family members or anybody from outside would have fondled the kid, fondled the breast, unfortunately, and would also have sexual relation with them. Then we come to neglect. Neglect can be physical neglect and it can be an emotional neglect. Physical neglect is failure to promote basic survival needs. And basic survival needs are providing food and providing the child clothing. They would not even provide food. They would not provide clothing. And look at this child. There's the failure to thrive, baby. Unfortunately, they get dehydrated, they have failure to thrive, they get diarrheas, and they do not get medical attention. Medical attention is not even given to them. And similarly, in emotional needs, that is even worse. Look at this little baby, and look at the mother who has a mobile in her hand. And she is unfortunately not taking care of the baby. वो बच्चा रोई जा रहा है, and that is really an emotional neglect. और यहाँ ये है कि they are inattentive, वो बच्चे को कोई ध्यान नहीं देते हैं, और it seems that they do not exist. They are very, I think I have a problem here. नजर नहीं आ रहा है, मेरी picture में. Okay, I'll go on, sorry. And this is another lady, there are two daughter and a mother. Mother has a mobile, अपनी जिंदगी आसान करने के लिए उसने बच्ची को भी मोबाइल दे दिया है. अब the child wants to talk to them, they don't give any family time. बच्चा बात करना चाह रहा है, पहले माँ बाप काम से वापस आए हैं, बच्चा मदर के पास गया, अम्मा मैंने आपको एक बात बतानी है. तो अब मैं थकी हुई हूँ इस वक्त बात बतानी, जाओ अपने पापा के पास जाओ. पापा के पास गया है, पापा कहते हैं क्या है तुम लोग सारा वक्त तंग ही करते रहते हो, इतना गुस्सा चढ़ाते हो जब हम काम से आते हैं. So this is what is happening. That is unfortunately emotional neglect. And kids who suffer this emotional neglect and suffer this neglect, they unfortunately become withdrawn kids. They are isolated kids. They are school absentees, and there are other problems with them. Household challenges, and looking at the household challenges, there are 5 points on ACEs which are given to the household challenges. The first one is divorce, which have very bad implications on the children. They don't know who to side with, father or mother, and they are broken and they are shattered. And look at the parents fighting, and look at the baby, poor boy, putting his hand on the head and is very disturbed. And when we see that the mother is being in front of them, mother is being beaten in front of them, look at the condition, then what will become of them? Depressed mother, unfortunately, depressed mother, it has been seen that kids of depressed mothers have low IQs and then the other kids. And then anybody in the prison in the family, and substance abuse. Dr. Sadia has also talked about substance abuse. Unfortunately, what happens is that the kids who are abused, they will become abusers themselves. They become aggressive. If the parents have mental illness where there is aggression, they will go into, unfortunately, different things like smoking, addiction, and one addiction leads to another addiction. Community also has a big role. Unfortunately, what is happening in these days, kids in the Army Public School in Ahmedabad. How many kids died, unfortunately. And then unsafe neighborhoods. And kids are hearing of deaths every other day. खून-रेज़ी हो रही है, कहीं एक जगह मारे जा रहे हैं, कहीं जलसा जुलूस हो रहे हैं. A very bad impact on our children. Unsafe neighborhood, if they are living in a neighborhood where there are dacoits, जहाँ पे डाकू चोर रहते हैं, जहाँ पे वो अपनी कोई चरस पी रहा है, कोई अल्कोहल पी रहा है, कोई और पी रहा है, सड़कों पे फिर रहे हैं, unfortunately will really have a bad effect. And poverty, all these things are going to live to poverty and bullying the children. This is a questionnaire, and this is a WHO questionnaire. You can always see it on the website. These are the 10 points, the 10 ACEs, which I've already talked about, and they're then marked according to that, yes or no. Anybody who's got 3 or more points, there are many risks, unfortunately, of child suicide, and it has been seen that the child who's got 6 or more points, unfortunately, their life is reduced by 20 years. Stress summation. You know, when all the stresses are summated, there is a summation, then this will have toxic stress, and it will have systemic effects on the nervous system, on the immune system, and on the endocrine system. Lifelong effects will be attention deficit disorders. These kids would have cognition problems. These kids have school problems. These kids do poorly at school, and they are language disturbances. There is social motor disturbances, and their decision is really, they cannot make decision in life. Intellectual, their ineffective response to further stress, and then future abuses that I've already talked about. These kids don't only have just the abusers and all these, but they also later on will have a lot of non-communicable diseases. And these non-communicable diseases, we can say, can vary from any disease like asthma, like diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and whatnot. And I've already talked about that they are heavy drinkers, they become smokers. Unfortunately, as they're absentees from school, they hardly would reach high grade. And then there is unemployment, and when there is unemployment, there is poverty and further problems in the house. Looking at COVID pandemic, students have very nicely talked about screen time and telling us what really happened to kids during the COVID pandemic. Similarly, the stresses increased and the toxic stress increased during the COVID time. Parents lost their jobs, so there was a lot of parental anxiety. There was parental anxiety, loss of job, and led to food insecurity. They couldn't provide them the food. There was housing insecurity and socioeconomic stress, increased risk of chronic conditions, and anorexia. What is the effect on children? Children had reduced educational time, so they spent most of the time at home. Their activity was reduced, school nahi ja rahe the, parents bahut tang ho rahe the, and there are certain families who really had a good time during pandemic, but there are other persons who were saying कि क्या मुसीबत होगी है, बच्चों को भी संभालना पड़ता है, हस्बैंड जो है वो भी घर में रह रहे हैं, अब पहले चले जाते थे थोड़ी देर, हमें भी सुकून मिल जाता था. And increase in malnutrition is both ways, obesity as well as failure to thrive and no food. The children who are rich would order everything on Food Panda. Pizza aa raha hai, ab burger aa raha hai. Yesterday I got a child in my clinic. He had increased about 12 kilos. And I said, सायम तुम्हें क्या हो गया है? Mother said, हाँ जी डॉक्टर साहब क्या होना था, कोविड में सारा वक्त बिस्तर पे बैठे रहते थे और ऑर्डर होते थे और खाना आता था. अब who ordered, who gave them the money to get these things? Increase in behavioral problems and then exposure to cyber crimes. पहले जिनको मोबाइल तो हर बच्चा लेता है, everybody has got a tablet and they've got, but during this time, since they had to be online in the school, so they did it much more. Now, adverse childhood experiences, it has been seen in women. In Color Saida, there was a study which was done in 2021, and there were 889 women who were observed for 36 months postpartum, and they found that 58% of women had one ACE domain. Home violence was present in 38%, neglect in 20%, and women experienced more than 4 or more ACCs had most pronounced elevation of symptom severity. Another study which was done in Lahore, in CMH Medical College, as well as King Edward Medical University. And that was done on 280 medical students above 18 years of age, and they found that 52.6% of kids had one adverse childhood experience. And these children had verbal, physical, or sexual adverse events and poor support and affection from the family. Unfortunately, we thought that the kids who are coming to the medical school are coming from good backgrounds. They do. There's no difference between a good or a bad background. हम नहीं कह सकते कि कौन सी. Everywhere you can find the same thing. जो गरीब हैं वो भी औरतें रोती आती हैं जी मेरा मियाँ नशा करता है मेरे पास पैसे नहीं हैं. And we've seen other ones where the alcoholics in the families, unfortunately. Smokers. This was a study of India that was in 2021. And here they found a positive association of abuse and domestic violence with drug use, with tobacco intake in adolescents and young adults. Prevention. Adversity is not a destiny. Safe, stable, and nurturing environment and good relationship can be given to our children. Parent training. Professor Rashid Latif has beautifully talked about the parenthood. Look at the child down where he's just sitting on his father's arm. This is almost gone these days. If you see a family, there was like 6 children and 6 children will be on their father. And these days, if there are 6 children sitting in the house, everybody has a mobile in the hand. Positive childhood experiences, I think that we have to do is in which you have to be close to the families. Parents have to listen to you. When you need them, they should be available to you. And we have to try to achieve this. And there should be another 2 adults. There are about 7 positive childhood positive points. And you should have an adult in the family, besides the parents, 2 adults to whom you can talk. RT messages. ACs are very common in our society. These events have usually a negative effect on the individual, family, and community. They can be easily dealt by preventive measures. Awareness is essential to reduce the events. Surat Hujurat 11 and 12 verses, or isme there are 6 points, and the 6 points are given as no backbiting, no mocking, no bullying, and the other thing is that we should not be talking against behind each other, and no name calling, and no spying. So these are, Allah Ta'ala ने हमें कहा है कि आपने ये चीज़ें आपको मना है. और जब हम इमोशनल अब्यूज करते हैं, और इमोशनल अब्यूज जो लोग कर रहे हैं अनफॉर्चुनेटली, उसमें यही सारे पॉइंट आ रहे हैं. Now we talk about stunted growth. बहुत सी चीजें इनमें मिलती जुलती हैं. Look at these beautiful kids. कितने खुश हैं यहाँ पे. And global burden here worldwide is 149 million children under the age of 5. Its highest prevalence is in Africa and Southeast Asia, and the decline has been 33 to 22% decline. Pakistan is 3rd highest in the world. There are 44% of children under 5 who are stunted, and 1 in 10 children do not reach the full potential. When I talk of 44%, that is different in different areas. In Sindh, we have more as compared to southern other areas. Punjab, there may be less. This is a world map, and we can see that 7 lakhs stunted children are found in Asia, almost 6 lakhs in Africa. And coming to United States, there's only 7 crores, 6 crores, and coming to United States, it's only 6 lakhs or 7 lakhs. Our Millennium Developmental Goal, government is trying to meet this goal by 2030, and we should really be able to reduce stunting by 40%. That means the stunting rate for Pakistan will be 27%. And we should be able to reduce wasting to less than 5%. Current is 28%. This is a graph, and on this we can see this is a WHO graph, and the definition that is used for stunting growth is height of for age which is 2 standard deviations below the mean on the WHO growth chart, or in other words, it could be 3rd percentile. Now, the children who are between -3 and -2 standard deviation are moderately stunted, and children who are below the 2 standard deviations, they are severely stunted. Moderately stunted are about 28% of children, and severely stunted children are almost about 17%. And here we see these kids. This is a stunted baby, and you can see he's shorter than all the 4. This is a normal child. This is the wasted child, where we take weight for height, but he's very thin. This is the underweight child, and the underweight child is, we can see the weight because his length is normal. The other definition is that the child does not reach their full potential, and their growth and development is delayed, and that is due to inadequate nutrition and also due to chronic infections and poor psychosocial situation in the house and maternal nutrition. This is a chart just to show how do we plot, and we can see here the child is just on the last line, and then it is very difficult to. What we are doing is it in the first. Here, Dr. Sadia has made my life easy. She has explained everything. So the process starts in utero. As we all know, maternal malnutrition is going to have a bad effect, and we take 1,000 days after birth, from conception, from preconception to 1,000 days. और 1,000 days जो है वो तकरीबन 2 साल बनते हैं. She has talked about anemia and smoking, so I would just go on. The causes in children then, inadequate nutrition, we've already talked about. Poor people cannot afford, तो वो तो खाना ही कम देते हैं. Low nutrition foods, low nutrition food. Dr. Professor Rashid Latif has also talked कि वो जी लेज खा रहे हैं, वो बर्गर्स खा रहे हैं. यहाँ इनके पास खाना है, लेकिन वो ये चीज़ें खा रहे हैं, और पेरेंट्स आके मुझे कहते हैं, जब बताते हैं कि डॉक्टर साहब कुछ नहीं खाता. मैंने कहा क्या खाता है, कुछ तो बताएं. हाँ जी, सुबह बिस्किट खा लिए थे, फिर केक का पीस खा लिया, फिर दोपहर को उसने कहा मैंने तो लेज और जूस खाने पीना है. तो मैंने कहा आपने मना नहीं किया. नहीं जी, वो फिर इतनी जिद करता है, लेट जाता है फर्श पे. अब who has developed these habits? Who has given them these foods? मैंने कहा देखो बेटा, अब जो उसको पसंद है वो तो वही खाएगा ना, जो हमें पसंद हम खाते हैं. They have recurrent infections, diarrheas, ARIs, otitis media, sinusitis unfortunately, and parasitic infections due to poor sanitation and due to poor hygiene. And mostly hookworm infestation is very common in our people, especially in villages, and they're severely anemic then. Anorexia, which is due to chronic illnesses. There may be malabsorption, the food is not being assimilated, and lack of psychosocial stimulation for development we've already talked about. This is environmental causes, water excess, sanitation and hygiene. You can see the women bringing water, and you can see how this area is. A vicious cycle starts. This is a stunted child, and from this stunted child becomes a stunted girl. And the stunted girl will become stunted mother. And from there, she will give rise to a low birth weight baby. Low birth weight baby is almost 25% in Pakistan. This vicious cycle will continue from generation to generation. And we have to do something about this vicious cycle. Adverse consequences. Adverse consequences are poor cognition. Then again, the learning disability, the same points that we have discussed before in adverse childhood experiences. Poor school performances. Then once they have poor school performances, they do not go to school, increased morbidity, and their long-term problems of obesity. These children will eat a lot then, and once they start eating, their height will not increase, but weight will increase. And then that will lead to other problems like hypertension, diabetes, stroke, and low productivity will make them, unfortunately, as poverty will start. Lifetime cost of stunting, if we see here, there are 4% more mortality in these kids. IQ scores in stunted children are usually 11 points less, and income is about 22% less, and it has an effect of GDP. Here the picture of Ethiopia is seen. Is all short stature abnormal? We have kids who have familial short stature. Look at this last line. The maximum height that they can reach in familial short stature is 4'11" in girls and 5'4" in boys, and these are on the last line. The parents will come and tell us कि जी हमारे बच्चे के लिए कुछ करें. Genetics has a very important effect on the height of children, and mid-parental height is very important. So we tell them, बड़े प्यार से उनको बताना पड़ता है कि बेटे अब देखें बच्चा माँ बाप पे ही जाता है, और but they cannot accept it. उनको बहुत मुश्किल लगती है ये बात. Constitutional short stature are those kids who are slow to start with, but they have a growth spurt at 14-15 years, and they would become normal children then. Just to show these slides that there are other causes of short stature as well. This is a celiac disease, chronic kidney disease. Then we have chromosomal disorders like Down syndrome and Turner syndrome. And we have got endocrine problems in which hypothyroidism and panhypopituitarism are present. How we manage this? Now, Dr. Sadia has talked about maternal nutrition beautifully, and that is what is required before and during pregnancy. And then good obstetric care. Cephalopelvic disproportion. We have to see, I mean, these are the gynecologists and they are there with us. Exclusive breastfeeding, very important. I'm not going to go into the details, but we know what are the benefits of breastfeeding. This milk is made for ashraful makhlukat. बच्चे के लिए माँ का दूध है, भैंस और गाय का दूध नहीं है. ना ही हम चाहते हैं कि उनका दिमाग भैंस और गाय की तरह हो. Immunization of mother and child. Dr. Sadi has told about immunization of mother. For the child now, EPI, yes, 11 diseases are being covered and they are all free. So we should really encourage our parents that the child should be immunized properly. वो डरे नहीं कि जी बुखार चढ़ जाएगा. Now there was an MR going on and it was very nicely given to a lot of kids. Then introduction of home complementary foods. उनको ये सिखाया जाए कि घर में साफ बन सकते हैं, हाइजेनिक फूड्स बन सकते हैं, बट दे बिलीव मोर के उसके तो सेरेलैक मिल रहा है, उसके लिए तो बाहर से प्यूरीज आई हैं, मैं क्यों ना अपने बच्चे को दूं, उससे शायद बच्चे ज़्यादा मोटे होते हैं. बट अनफॉर्चुनेटली दैट इज़ नॉट द थिंग. Poor sanitation, proper sanitation hygiene, that is number one. That will prevent a lot of communicable diseases, जो भी हमारे डायरियाज हैं, टाइफॉइड है, हेपेटाइटिस इतना आजकल भी कॉमन है, and improve home dynamics in which close family members, distant family members have to be involved. What is the government policy? Scaling up nutrition movement. Pakistan is one, that is luckily, Pakistan is one in 41 countries focusing on 1,000 days of life nutrition, aiming 80 million children to be healthy. And government have allocated 50 million rupees to combat malnutrition and stunting. Free school meal program started in Lahore and Punjab. And we were also lucky in our school as a kid. We used to get milk and उसके साथ कभी हमें समोसा कबाब और हम बड़ा खुश होते थे कि आज देखें किस चीज़ की बारी है. Well, Prime Minister of Pakistan is in his first speech talked about stunted growth and that the attention should be paid to this. Lastly, the key message. Once stunted, always stunted. And 1,000 days of life are extremely important. And we should target those times. Prevention should be a priority. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. As per global standards, Pakistan is facing shortage of 0.2 million doctors, 0.18 millions of dentists, and 1.4 millions of nurses, resulting into increased workload per doctor, leading to physician burnout and stress. Pillars of happiness and emotional well-being are positive emotions, engagement in present moment, relationships, meaning in life, and accomplishments. Techniques for self-management of stress are mindfulness, abdominal breathing, volunteering for meaningful cause, time in nature, and to get involved in real life. Let's attenuate our stress with a breathing exercise. We request all of you to please join us. We have Syed Ahmed Shafiq Bukhari from 4th year MBBS to guide you. Please sit with your back straight, close your eyes, begin to slow down each inhale and exhale, focusing your mind on your breath only. Inhale for a count of 4 seconds, consciously drawing your breath into your belly, rib cage and upper chest. Feel like you are inhaling all the positivity in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now exhale through your mouth for a count of 4 with all the negativity thrown out of with your breath. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now please open your eyes and see the world in a more positive way. Thank you.
Now, I would like to call the Honorable Chairperson, Professor Dr. Tahir Chaudhry, to conclude this session.
Thank you very much. मुझे कुछ कहना इसलिए नहीं है कि both the speakers are my teachers. Professor Samia Naimullah and Professor Rashid Latif, both are my teachers. Just to remind myself in the audience, what did they say? That starting in a reverse order, Professor Samia reminded us about the adversity and the stunted growth have lifelong impact on health, not of our children, but of our generations to come. And we need to focus right and well early in time. Dr. Sadia Sultana has reminded us to take care of our girls. Our girls, our daughters, are mothers of tomorrow. If they are healthy today, they would give birth to children who will be healthy tomorrow. They will be less stunted. They will face less adversity. बट विद वन डॉक्टर समिया, अगर आप डॉक्टर सादिया आप नाराज ना हो, मैं एक जुमले पे जरूर कहना चाहूंगा। मगरब का पर्सपेक्टिव अपना है, हमारा पर्सपेक्टिव नबी करीम सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम की उम्मत होने की बुनियाद पे प्रेगनेंसी इज नॉट अ रिस्क, इट्स अ प्रिविलेज, इट्स अ राइट ऑफ एवरी वुमन इन चाइल्ड बेयरिंग एज। Then I must thank Professor Rashid Latif Khan. He is teacher of my teachers. He reminded all of us, some of us are parents, some are grandparents, and many of us would be parents in a short while, maybe in a couple of years. He reminded us of our responsibilities. I would sum up just in 3 sentences कि किसी सेहतमंद मुआशरे की और जिंदा मुआशरे की अलामत ये नहीं है कि वहां पे सड़कें कितनी हैं, मशीनें कितनी हैं, जहाज कैसे उड़ते हैं और गाड़ियां कैसे चलती। सेहतमंद मुआशरों की अलामतें जहां इंसान बसते हों, वो ये है कि वहां बुजुर्गों का और पेरेंट्स का ख्याल रखा जाता है और बच्चों की तरबियत की जाती है और उनका ख्याल रखा जाता है, और जिस धरती पे रहते हैं उसके साथ हमारी मोहब्बत का आलम क्या है। इसलिए इस दुआ के साथ कि अल्लाह सुब्हानहू व तआला मेरे इन दोनों टीचर्स को, बाकी सब टीचर्स को भी लंबी जिंदगी और बरकत वाली और सेहत वाली जिंदगी दे और हमें उन सब बातों पे अमल करने की तौफीक दे जिसकी उन्होंने हमें याद दहानी करवाई है, ताकि कल को, आज भी और कल भी हम इस मुल्क से मोहब्बत करने वाले हों, इस धरती से मोहब्बत करने वाले हों और अपने बच्चों की बेहतर देखभाल और बेहतर तरबियत करने वाले हों। तभी हम ये तवक्को करते हैं कि हमारा आने वाला वक्त और मुस्तकबिल सेहतमंद और मजबूत और देरपा होगा। थैंक यू वेरी मच।